Hi, I'm Beth from So Country, and I'm so excited today to be part of the Beachcomber Marathon. This pouch pattern is from Needle and Anchor, and it is extremely popular in the sewing community. Not only will you get to watch several videos all day today, but there's also videos on this pattern from Jess from Okla Roots and Kasaya from Saya Swag. There are several versions of this pouch, and they're all included in the same pattern. So if you buy this pattern, then you will have all the versions in it. I'm going to be doing the boxed corners method in my video, but throughout the day you'll see both versions, so you can watch and kind of pick which one you like the best or try all of them. So let's go ahead and talk about all the pieces we're going to need to create this pouch. All the materials I'm using today are a cotton woven. I interfaced everything with a medium weight interfacing. I choose to use Royal Pixie Light. You could use an SF101 or equivalent. Everything you see here is from j&redwards. The fabric for my exterior, the fabric for my lining, as well as the vinyl on my zipper tab and the zipper tape. As always, I'm going to have a link to the pattern and the fabrics in the description of this video. After I interfaced everything with the medium weight interfacing, I went ahead and started cutting everything out. My wristlet strap is cut to the measurements given in the pattern. Then I drew a line down the middle, folded in the raw edges all the way down, and then folded it again. I went ahead and added a swivel hook onto this. I'm using a 1/2 inch. So I have all the clips in place. I'm going to go ahead and get this situated so I can take it right over to the machine as soon as we finish talking about all the pieces we need. So I'm going to open up these edges and just clip them right sides together. And then that's the way I'll sew this top to get that wristlet started. Whenever I do it this way, I have less of a bulky seam and it looks more smooth. You do have a seam, but it's just not as bulky as if you don't do it this way. Make sure you already have your swivel hook on there. I cut the zipper tape to the measurement given in the pattern. I already have my pull on there. I am using number 5 zipper tape. The pattern gives you several ways to finish the edge of the zipper. I am going to choose to just use a piece of vinyl. I just grabbed a vinyl scrap and I folded it over so you can see it will have raw ends. After I top stitch this on, I will trim down those edges, but always keep your vinyl scraps handy to your sewing machine so you can just add one on at any time. The way we're going to finish this other end is we're going to do the 90-degree angle. So I will just pull these apart and just push that edge down until it meets. I take a clip and I clip it in place. And then I'll do the same for the other side. Trying to make for sure I get it as close to matching as possible. And then whenever I go to the machine, I will make sure I feed it through my machine this way so that the needle doesn't actually go over the teeth, but I back stitch just a few stitches back and forth on both sides here to secure that fold in place. I have my D-ring connector with the D-ring attached. I fold this the exact same way I do my wristlet. The only thing with mine is that I did choose to not interface this piece. This is the only piece I'm not going to interface just because I have found that my machine gets a little grumpy if I have this piece interfaced whenever I'm doing my final stitching of everything together. I will open this up and top stitch down both long edges and then top stitch across my D-ring. It's not that I have to, I just feel like it looks a little bit better and more professional to do it that way. We're going to have 4 zipper gusset pieces. I have 2 exterior. This is my exterior. I have 2 lining. This is my lining. On the back of each one of these pieces, there is a measurement that you are to draw. This measurement is where you're going to fold your zipper gusset piece. Make sure that you understand that it's not where you fold the raw edge to. I think lots of times we get a little confused on that, but you don't do it like this. You're not folding to meet it. You're using that measurement, and that's where you actually put the crease on that measurement. I'm doing mine a little bit different than the pattern says. The pattern says that at this line, we just put a stick pin in here while we're sewing. The reason why she does this is so that you can make for sure after you attach your zipper, you can get a perfect match of your edges. I'm okay to go ahead and add double-sided tape and iron this down on the crease like this and try my best to keep all my edges matched up. I'm okay if it's a little bit off or if it shifts a little bit while I'm sewing. That doesn't stress me so much, but having the pin in here and sewing it would stress me more. So you can read the pattern for how she does it, and you can do it whichever method works best for you while you're at your machine. So I will have marks on all of the short edges of every piece of the zipper gusset. So there's 4 pieces, so I will have 8 marks. I'm going to take each one of these over to my iron and iron it down at that crease and let my double-sided tape kind of help to keep it in place while we're sewing our zipper on. The next thing we'll have is the back of the pouch. Since I'm doing the box corners, this is what mine looks like. I'm going to have one piece like this for the back with my exterior, and then I'll have the 2 lining pieces. Here's the lining. So 3 pieces cut out in this shape. All of them interfaced with the medium weight interfacing. Now let's look at how we're going to do the front of this pouch. Here is the main front pouch. I have these little cutouts. It's just a contrast that are going to go on the side here just for a design feature. And then we're going to have our top panel that's going to go just like this. This is going to be what my front is basically going to look like, and it should be close to the same measurements as the back. I will check to make for sure, but it should work out the same. Our zipper on this pouch is actually going to be a recessed zipper, which is kind of cool. You don't see that on a lot of pouches, so that's a unique feature. This is all the pieces we need and how everything is going to go with this pouch. So you can see it's going to be a really cute pouch that comes together super quick and just a new pattern to add to your repertoire for gift giving or for market shows. Things you can sew up quickly without a lot of effort but have an adorable little pouch. To get started sewing, I'm first going to take my zipper and I'm going to sew down these 90-degree angles. And then on the other end, I'm going to top stitch just 1/8 of an inch away from the raw edge of my zipper tab. I'm going to take my D-ring connector and I'm going to go ahead and take off the D-ring and top stitch down both long edges, put the D-ring back on, and then just top stitch underneath the D-ring to keep it in place so it's not slipping around. I'm going to take my wristlet and the short ends that I have placed right sides together. I'm just going to top stitch about 1/4 of an inch right across these, making sure I lock in the stitches. Then I will just refold my wristlet strap the way it was, and then I will top stitch all the way down the long edges. It'll be going in a loop 1/8 of an inch away from each side. Now that I have this wristlet strap sewn together, I'm just going to slide this swivel hook to the area where the seam is, and then I'll just fold it right there, and I'm going to do a little bit of top stitching back and forth just to secure that in place. Okay, so my wristlet strap is done, my D-ring is done, my zipper is prepped. I did trim off the edge there and ready to go. So I'm going to set all these pieces aside until we're ready to use them. I'm going to pull out that center front, the top band, and the 2 side pieces. I'm just going to lay these side pieces right sides together on this center front, matching up the edges. Then I'm just going to sew down each side with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Now that I have both of those attached, I'm just going to flip this up, the side piece up, and I'm going to push my seam allowance down. I'll just use my fingers to press, but you can take it over the iron. Here's the back with the seam going down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch on the center portion, not on my side piece. And I'm going to do that for both sides. Now I'm going to take the top band and I'm going to place it right sides together with the front. I'm going to match up both the top and the side edges. I'm going to sew along this top edge with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Again, I'm going to flip this piece up while pushing the seams down. And I'm going to top stitch all along this front, but not on the top piece. I like to top stitch just 1/8 of an inch away from that folded edge. I'm going to go ahead and pull out my back or a lining piece just to see how it looks as far as the measurement goes. Since I had 4 pieces that I had to cut separately and to attach, it could definitely have gotten off a little bit. And it's pretty perfect. I'm okay with a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty perfect once I match up the bottoms there. So I'm good. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to go ahead and take out my D-ring connector and I'm just going to baste it in place here. And you can follow the pattern for the measurements as to where you place it. I always like to leave a little bit of overhang when I attach a D-ring, just to help with like making it a little more secure so it doesn't slip out accidentally after, you know, lots of use. I'm now going to set this aside and we will start working on the zipper. So I have my zipper ready. I went ahead and took my zipper gusset pieces and folded them down like I said. But something else you really want to make for sure is that they are shorter than your exterior lining. You need to have that little bit of gap there so that it doesn't get in your seam allowance. So mine looks great. Check yours to make for sure before you get started, just so you don't have any aggravation with yourself. I like to attach my zipper to my lining first. I like to do just a basting stitch, and that kind of helps me get everything secure before I'm making the zipper sandwich. So I'm just going to line this 90-degree turned edge of my zipper with the folded edge of my lining zipper gusset. I'm just going to then baste 1/8 of an inch away all the way down this raw edge, attaching the zipper to the lining. Your lining is right sides up and your zipper is right sides up. I have the lining basted to the zipper. I'm going to go ahead and move my zipper pull out of the way. I want to make for sure that when my zipper is open, my exterior is the right way. So go ahead, if you have directional print, orientate it the way you want it to look at the end, like this, and then flip it down. I'm going to match up the folded edges here. I'm going to match up the long raw edge here. And this time I'm going to sew this with the full seam allowance given the pattern all the way down from edge to edge, just along that long side. Now that you have these 2 pieces sewn together, you're just going to pull them back. And so they're going to be wrong sides together. You're going to clip them that way. So I'm putting some clips there. Okay, so this is what I have right now. I'm going to go ahead and pull this zipper out of the way because it's just in the way. I am going to top stitch all the way down this folded edge just 1/8 of an inch away. And I'm also going to baste these short sides, both short sides together, and then baste down this raw edge so that everything's attached in one unit. So basically you're sewing around the entire perimeter of this rectangle, attaching both the exterior to the lining, making them all one piece. I always like to kind of pull, even though I have it clipped, I'll make sure that I'm not letting either one of these get separated or too close to the zipper teeth so that everything opens smoothly and looks good. Now it's time to complete the other side of this recessed zipper. I will do it the same way with the remaining 2 pieces, attaching them to the zipper. So now we have all these components completed, and let's just take a minute to look at these gorgeous colors. These are just beautiful. So what we have is our back exterior, our front exterior, our 2 lining pieces, a completed zipper gusset, and our wristlet strap. It's time to put everything together. So we're going to start with this recessed zipper. I'm going to take out one of my lining pieces. I'm going to put everything else to the side just so we don't get confused as to what we're doing. We're going to attach the lining to the lining. So whenever we put this recessed zipper down, it's going to be face up. I always get confused on this, but logically we know lining goes against the lining here. So we're going to center this recessed zipper on this panel. I want it spaced evenly on the sides, but I want that top raw edge matching. You can get out your ruler and measure this, but I'm okay to just eyeball it this part. The main thing I want to make for sure is I have enough clearance for my seam allowance. I do not want to catch this recessed zipper at all in the seam allowance. I'm sewing today with my door open in my sewing room, so I know you can hear the parakeet, and I do apologize for that. If it is bothersome, I can close my door in my next video. Now that I have these 2 pieces connected, I'm just going to baste across this top raw edge with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So now that I have this attached, this is what you can do, just a quick check to make for sure. When you open your zipper, what will you see? Your lining. It's perfect. These, with recessed zippers and things like that, it's so easy to get confused. Another thing we got to do, and easy to get confused on, is we got to attach our exterior. So if I attach my front just like this, because here's my pull closing this way, when I flip it over, the pull would be closing the way I don't like it, to the right. I want my pull closing to the left. So you would think you would have to add your exterior this way with the pull closing to the left, but that's not the way you would do it. You will attach your back this way if you want your pull to end up closing to the left. So what I'll do is I will just match this top raw edge and the 2 sides with the lining piece. I'm going to put just a few clips in place just to make sure I don't have too much shifting. At this point, I will go ahead and pull this zipper out of the way so I do not have to worry about it when I'm sewing. I'm also going to sew this time with the full seam allowance given in the pattern. So now that I have these attached, I'm going to pull that exterior away, but I'm going to leave the lining and exterior both right sides facing up. This is how I'm going to top stitch it. We're going to top stitch along the exterior just an 1/8 of an inch away from that edge we just sewed. But I don't want to attach this lining to the exterior just to help with the way this bag will lay whenever it's completed. So let's go ahead and top stitch from edge to edge with an 1/8 of an inch. So now I can go ahead and pull these 2 pieces together and you can see what it's looking like. Okay, I'm going to repeat these same steps for the front and the additional lining piece. I don't need to worry about my wristlet because I just will attach at the very end, so I'm going to set it off to the side here so I don't forget it. Whenever I'm going to baste this lining on, not only do I want to make sure that I center this recessed zipper, I also want to just pay attention to make sure that I'm lining everything up properly. It should be the exact same if I have my measurements right, but still it's always good to just do that little bit of common sense check. Again, I'm going to baste this on with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to take this front panel and I'm going to attach it the same way, match up the top and the sides. It should be fairly simple at this point. And now I'm going to sew all across this top edge with the full seam allowance given in the pattern. Again, I'm going to separate the exterior, but the lining is going to stay over here. They're not going to be together. I'm not top stitching through my lining. It is staying separate, but I'm going to top stitch all across that top band on the front exterior. Now it is time to put everything together. I'm going to go ahead and open my zipper part way. I'm going to pull my 2 exterior pieces together, have my 2 lining pieces together. You can see you should have a fairly good distance to sew these, so it should not be an issue at this point at all. So you're going to clip these sides together. Of course, we got to keep that zipper in there. We do not want it getting sewn through at all. So probably what I'll do is I'll leave it out for right now, and then whenever I go to sew that, I'll make sure I push it in. And the reason why I'll leave it out is as a reminder. I'm afraid if I tuck it in, I might forget and it might get accidentally caught. So this will help me to remember. I'm also going to sew the bottom of the exterior completely. I'm going to leave an opening in the lining. So for the bottom, I'm going to sew from this end to this end, making sure I back stitch well. We're not sewing the cutouts yet because we're going to box those corners. On the lining side, I'm going to leave that opening for turning, so I'll back stitch here, back stitch right here, and then break my stitches, and then do the same here to here so that we can turn through this bag. Let's go ahead and sew down the sides first, and then we will get our bottoms, and then we will finish our pouch. Make sure you keep everything adjusted and connected. Use clips if you want. Sew with the full seam allowance given in the pattern. Don't forget to backstitch. If you want, you can even go over your D-ring a few times just to make sure you have it secure. I've sewn down both of the sides. I've sewn the bottom completely, but I left an opening in the bottom of the lining. Now it's time for us to box the corners. If you've watched my other videos, the way I like to box corners is not just starting right here. I go to the middle, and with this bag, I'm going to go ahead and get that zipper all the way up. And then I like to grab from the middle and kind of pull there, and that way it'll naturally want to go the place you want. Sometimes whenever I try to just box the corner here at this edge, it'll be crooked and uneven and won't be a perfect box corner. You want to be able to sew straight across, and if you look, that looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and sew across all 4 corners, doing the same process to get the corners all nice and boxed. You're going to use the seam allowance given in the pattern. So I'm over at the machine, and I'm going to make sure that I try to keep a straight stitch here, even if the fabric's a little uneven, because you want to make sure that your corners end up looking straight and square instead of uneven. So now I have all the corners boxed. You can trim off the corners if you feel like they're a little too bulky. I feel like mine's fine, so I'm not going to worry about it, but I'm just going to stick my hand in the opening here in my lining and pull everything through. Guys, look at this adorable pouch. This is so cute. I did add my wristlet a little bit lower. You should add it up here. I can see that. But anyway, it's super cute. It's so pretty. I love it. I love all the colors, and this is just gorgeous. If you have any questions or concerns regarding this pattern, just let me know in the comments. Other than that, please continue to watch everyone else's videos. Everyone's going to have great tips, and it's just fun to see what other choices people choose for their fabrics and how everything turns out. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy the rest of the marathon.